Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praises to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray that the Most High blesses this lesson this evening, gives more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, in order to understand the events that are currently happening on the earth, so we get a much better understanding of things that are soon to come on the earth. Brethren, Most High moved me to kind of tackle this subject with this YouTuber that's just kind of bringing out some of their Christian dogma and doctrine. And the thing is, it's not an attack on these people. I said it's just a clarification of some historical facts that these people hold. And the thing is that what they think is what the vast majority of the Gentiles have been taught. They've been taught that, pretty much the natives here, the people that were here, knew nothing, that they were savages, and that they needed the Europeans to come over and to civilize them. And as they civilized them, they stole their land. And they're looking for any excuse now to pretty much get away with or feel that they don't have to pay for what happened to our people. And see, that's what happens when you understand that, you might not be feeling as confident. You still hold on to a lot of these lies that have been taught to us. And we were all taught these lies, Jews and Gentiles alike. And but those lies made a lot of these Gentiles, especially a lot of the Caucasians, very prideful. They already have that prideful spirit anyways. But the way history is taught, as if they were the bastions of intellect, and they had to go around the world civilizing the whole world. That's the way that they set things up. Now, when you understand the scriptures, the people that were used to come over and destroy our people, it never talks about them being super smart. It never talks about them being just so smart and then they needed to, civilize everyone. Pretty much, they were just a hammer. That's all that they were. That's all that they are. All that they were before and all they are now. Didn't say they were the smartest. Didn't say that they, had to civilize everyone. That's not what it said. Most High used them as like the blunt instrument. Okay. Now they try to turn it around and make it seem as if they were so high society and that they had to bring their great knowledge and understanding to everyone. So what I'm going to do is I'll leave the description. I'll leave the link to the description. I'll leave the link in the description box. Sorry, for this video. All right. You guys will be able to watch it or whatever else. But this guy Lewis and his wife starts talking about history and she starts breaking down history. Well, he tries to make it sound like she's 25% Native American. Yeah, well, whatever. We just go by the spirit and what you hear. And they try to give excuses for all the horrible things that they've done. And that's what most of them are doing right now, giving excuses, because they don't feel as they always hold themselves not guilty. So if you're going to hold yourself not guilty, you're going to have to come up with some pretty elaborate excuses to justify many of the actions that have been taken against our people for the last 500 plus years. So what we're going to do right now is we'll just take a look at this video. We're going to listen to a couple of minutes. If you want to listen to more of it, be my guest. It's up to you. But this is the feeling that many Gentiles have about what happened here in the Americas. All right.
State of Florida, a lot of people get into accidents here. There's a lot of snowbirds that come from Canada. All right, so you, babe, you are a quarter of Native American.
Yep.
Do you believe this country was stolen?
I know people want to hear my opinions on this.
Again, she's Native American.
Well, doing research, you got to realize that before the Native Americans, there was other people here too. And then the Native Americans came in, and then people came in, which was not Christopher Columbus, regardless what anybody wants to say. He never even came to the United States of America. He came to the Americas, but it was South America, not the North America. But anyway, back then there wasn't laws and there wasn't rules like we have today. So as far as stolen, legally, it technically wasn't stolen. Did they come here and, make this land a part of the... Look, at the end of the day, I don't agree with how they had treated the Native Americans. And I refuse to really call Indian, because technically they're not Indian. The people who came here, they called them Indians because they thought that they were in India. But at the end of the day, it's Native American. But yeah, and you also have to realize too that a lot of people, they say that it was a white man. Actually, it was what you would consider today Democrats who took this land, if that's how you want to say it. So it wasn't Christopher Columbus. It wasn't anybody who today would be considered a Republican. And the Democrats are the ones who would be considered Democrats. They're the ones who threw them in little parts of America and was like, well, you have a choice. You can either be an American citizen, which means that you have to give up all of your Native American, or you can stay Native American and we'll give you a small little allowance. So I think they get like 800, probably like 800 or 700. It's some sort of money that they get if they live on the Native American Reserve. But again, those are what you would consider Democrats. But again, there wasn't any laws back then. They didn't legally own this land. They did live here, but they didn't legally own this land. And then we ended up fighting for this land.
Well,
that's how they did it back then.
Well, you have to realize too that back then there was different laws.
Yeah, there wasn't really laws pertaining. They didn't have any laws. Plus, you got to realize too that the Indians were also fighting with each other too. So it's like, oh, the white people came here and killed the natives. Well, the natives were also killing each other too. This is history. Whether you like it or not, that's the reality.
All right. So you guys heard that. There's a whole lot wrong with what that had, what this dude's wife had to say. But this is why I wanted to kind of just touch on this, because you know what? It's not even just her. The vast majority of Gentiles feel this way. They feel that the natives here didn't have any laws. I said, how would they know that? Considering the fact that anything that was a pre-Columbus was just thrown out. They burnt it or they hid it, hid all the information. They want to make it seem as if they didn't have any records, and we know different. So, to sit here and act like, they didn't have any laws. Well, if you didn't realize this, they did have laws. They broke the laws of the Most High. And that's how you got your guys' asses brought over here in order to take us down. So they did have laws. They had biblical laws that they were following. But the people back then didn't want the world to know that. So they set up their own, their own excuses as to, what was going on with the Native American. The Hebrews that were here, I'm not going to keep calling them Native Americans, the Hebrews that were here, they made up their own story. They hid the history. And that's exactly what they've done. And this woman right here said quite a few things here, So of course she said they didn't have laws, but we know better. They did have laws. I said she doesn't understand that King James came here in 1603, and then miraculously started writing the King James version or translating it in 1604. Talking about what they were called. Well, we're not going to call them Indians. We're going to call them Native Americans, which are all bywords. That's not what they called themselves. So again, you got the Gentiles making up names of people. Talk about how Christopher Columbus never made it to the United States. There was no such thing as the United States back then, or Americas. All of their bywords and apply them, and then make it seem as if it was always called that. That's why when you go around in Mexico and you hear all these things in Spanish, even here in Southern California, all these names of places in Spanish, it gives you that connection that these places have always been part of Spain, or down in South America when they're speaking Portuguese, wherever they came from over there in Europe, they speak these languages here, they name these places here, and then you just automatically think, that that's where they originated from. And you don't have any connection to what they had before the Gentiles got here and started to name it. That's all part of the, how they screw our minds up, and to sit there and say that the people who came here and put their flags down were like the Democrats of today. That just shows you right there. They're still trying to use like their bywords, their groupings. There's no such thing as Democrats or Republicans back then. And as I looked at the, looked on the news and saw all the people, many of the people that were there at Trump's rally today at Mount Rushmore, the vast majority of those people were so-called white people. So you're trying to say that it wasn't those people who came over here and raped, rob, murder, and steal, but it was the Democrats who came and rape, rob, murder, and steal, or have that ideology. No, there was anybody who wanted to come over here and get a taste of paradise. It had nothing to do with political affiliations. Okay. And let's see here. So let's see. And then to sit there and say they didn't really own it. They lived here, but they didn't really own it. See, that's that pride of the Gentiles. Well, you must have had your own systems, but those systems didn't count. The only system that counts is our system. So no one really owned it until you guys got here and planted a flag here. Then all of a sudden, you guys owned it. You see, that's the pride of the Gentiles. You said they didn't have any laws. How do you know they didn't have any laws? They've hidden all that information. But see, that's what this society, because people want to believe what they want to believe. They want to believe that it was okay for them to come over here, rape, rob, murder, and steal, and that they would never have to pay for it. Now, like I said, on this channel, they believe that kind of stuff. Hey, cool. I just want you guys to know, understand, and we all do understand, the vast majority of the world thinks like this. Now, we're going to get into some history. Okay? The thing is that they make it seem as if they still think that the three parts over there, Europe, and they had all of this great knowledge and understanding. That's what's been taught. And it's amazing, the more I think about it, when we were in school, how we were forced to take European history and memorize those dates. Well, now I understand more so why. Because like I said, they made up all this history that wasn't even true and forced our people to believe that all these great things came from those people, and it never did. They make it seem as if they had all these great things going on over there in Europe pre-1492. Now, I understand that, that's what we've been taught. But now, remember now, just like it talks about in scriptures, you're going to have to become like a baby and relearn everything over again, because we've all been lied to, Jews and Gentiles alike. We're going to read a little bit from here. The medieval empire of the Israelites, to kind of get a good understanding of how it was in Europe, and that these people were not these great thinkers that they try to portray themselves as. They try to portray themselves as intellects, and that they were so much better than everyone else, and that they were bringing all this knowledge and understanding to the world, which was not true. So let's see, here's on page 222. Get there real quick. All right, here we go. Almost. Okay, here we go. If one is not to forget about it, then it becomes understandable why in the Catholic Church, over several centuries, as the traditional history assures us, it formerly was forbidden to read the Bible. Pope Gregory IX introduced the prohibition supposedly in 1231. And the Second Vatican Council changed it only in 1962 to 1965. Okay, so these people were not even reading the Bible back then. Okay, that is in the 20th century. In a council decree at Béziers, supposedly 12 AD, it said, okay, as regards then the holy books in the popular dialect, allow them not in the least either. Slide up. Okay. Either for clerics or for laity. Quick. There we go. In an edict of Charles IV at the end of the 14th century, it says, lay people of both sexes, by canon determination, are not supposed to read anything that was written, even though in the common language, so that they do not lapse into heresy and error through bad comprehension. So at this time, the Catholics were running things, and they didn't even allow their people to even read the Bible. So all these people, these Christians, make it seem like they've been around for such a long time. But a lot of their things, they said, haven't been around. They're set up in their churches. It wasn't even set up. But right now, we're not looking at people who are super smart here so far. Okay, they're refusing, to allow them to even read because they don't think they can comprehend the Bible. Okay, the Encyclopedic Dictionary of Christianity reports that in the epoch of the Reformation, Cardinal Hosius wrote upon an instruction of the Roman Curia a treatise on the use of the Bible, Hosius de Expresso Verbal Dei. It is expressed thus: to permit the people to read the Bible means to give the sacred writ to the dogs and to cast pearls before swine. Okay? The Council of Trent in the 16th century forbade laity the reading of heretic translations of the New Testament unconditionally and permitted the reading of the Old Testament books only under the supervision of a bishop. So right here, they're just not letting people read. And if they do read, they have to be supervised, okay, in order to get the correct understanding, all right? Orthodox Judaism, except the Karaites, was in exactly the same position. According to researchers, reading of the Bible was not permitted to the Orthodox Jews. They were not able to become familiar. They were able to become familiar only with the Talmud, which explained antiquated biblical laws in a more modern form. Now, here we go. The reading of the Bible was forbidden in the everyday life of the Orthodox Church and in general in the East. The prohibition in particular was contained in the Epistle of the Patriarchs of the Eastern Catholic Church regarding the Orthodox faith of 1723. The Orthodox Church, which is based similarly to the Roman Catholic fundamentally on the liturgy and not on the Holy Scripture, has long struggled with the study of the Bible. In the reign of Alexander I, it agreed to burn all copies of the first Russian translation and the Testament. Okay. All right, and the New Testament, which had been published by the Biblical Society. Okay, now this is where it's going to get crazy. Let's continue. Such is the case of all, but reports about prohibitions in the Middle Ages evoke deep and well-founded doubts. Okay, now this is kind of like, really? All these prohibitions about reading, like all these people could read so well? Why was he kind of saying that they, like this is kind of weird? They're well-founded doubts. Well, in the first place, because there was no one to prohibit. There was no one to prohibit from reading. Why is that? As already has been noted, near total illiteracy prevailed in the medieval world. Over the centuries, the ability to read and write remained a privilege of the clergy and those who were relatively well off. What kind of talk then can there be about casting pearls before swine? So these people couldn't even read. So to sit here and act like, they weren't even, they were prohibited from reading the Bible. Well, who are you going to prohibit? Because these people couldn't even read. So you're going to realize that they couldn't read. They were not that all intellect. They weren't these intellectual giants. They weren't these great problem solvers. Okay, they weren't great at like working together. So that's not what these people were. Okay. But see, they make it seem as if when they got over here, oh, these Native Americans, they were just so dumb. They were idiots, and they didn't have any laws, and we had to bring our laws and establish them over here. How? You guys didn't even have any of this stuff. But you see, that's what happens when they said, what do they say? Oh, anything pre-Columbus, hey, we don't accept. We only accept this, the stuff that we going forward, that we say, that's the truth. But see, right here is that you know that they were illiterate, didn't know anything. Let's read a little bit more. In the opinion of the adherents of the new chronology, the prohibitions were contrived and written as early as the 17th and 18th centuries, as ascribed to medieval activity in order to explain the fact that the Bible in the modern sense generally was missing at least until the 16th century. Yeah, the Bible was missing because they didn't have it until they came over here. It still had not been compiled, edited, and approved fully by the church authorities. Okay? So, them acting as if, there's no laws over here. They were just over here, running around butt naked. And that, they were able to just kind of just come in. Oh, well, hold on. As you said, the Democrats back then came in and took over. It wasn't anything that you see today like as a Republican. I was like, see, that's the whole thing with the churches. Oh, you Catholics aren't going to get in, but us Christians are going to get in. Or you Christians won't get in, but us Catholics are going to get in. They're always trying to find some way that one group of Gentiles is worse off than another group of Gentiles. And they sit there and just run around with that the whole time. All right. But that's not how it's going to work with the Most High. So like I said, it doesn't matter at this point. It talks about how the Gentiles are going to come at the end saying that their father has inherited lies. It's not going to say our Catholic fathers have inherited lies, but not the Christians. That's not how it's going to go down. All of the Gentile fathers have inherited lies. And now the Most High is sending his people to bring truth to the world. And as you can tell, there's so many things, and that was only a 3-minute clip of a 40-minute video that we just listened to. If you listen to even more of it, you're going to hear a lot more stuff. But I didn't want to play the whole, I'm not into doing all that. This is because a whole lot of people think like this woman does. They think that they have all the answers. What they're going to understand is the Most High made her say those things today, brought that to my attention so I can share this with the nation. Okay? Now, if you're not familiar with this book, I would suggest you go and get this book. It's actually got a lot of great information. It's called, the fourth part of the world. A lot of you Gentiles don't understand. The fourth part of the world, the fourth part you were not allowed to come to, was way more advanced than you were. And if you tried to come over here, the Most High would not allow you to come over here. Not until we broke the laws that they say we never had. After we broke those laws, then the Most High allowed you to come over. But he didn't allow you to come over because you were so smart to teach us. He allowed you to come over to bring that whooping stick that we had to go through. If you haven't figured this out yet, the people over here were way more advanced in math, in science, in astronomy, calendars, the scriptures, everything. They were way more advanced. That's what's been hidden from you. You think that you already had this knowledge, understanding before you came over here, but you didn't. Your calendar was way off. Your astronomy. I said, if you go and look at the Vatican and that tower that they have, I did a video on that a little while ago. Their whole thing of their whole building for astronomy is it's a tower with some holes drilled into it. But they got that information over here. They weren't absorbing the stars over there. And even to today, they observe the stars over here because this land is much closer to the Most High than other parts of the world. No, on the position of planets, go to Teotihuacan, done videos on that as well. And that whole complex is set up, in the ways of and pretty much as a model of the solar system. It was planets that you guys have weren't even able to figure out until 1600s, 1800s, 1900s. I mean, plenty of those planets you didn't even know about until then, until, way later. But we had already set up complexes, as a model of the solar system. Because everything you didn't have over there, we had over here. The only reason you were brought over here was because we broke the laws that we had. So you saying we don't have laws is a total lie. And you didn't bring all this great knowledge, understanding over here. You stole it. You took it back over to Europe. You remixed it up a little bit and then said it was yours. And if that's not true, show us all this great, these great technological advances over there in Europe pre-1492, and not out of just some book that they just said it. See, that's the thing. You guys are used to just being able to say things and thinking that that's enough. And it's been enough for 500 years, but not anymore. So right here in the middle, the earth is divided into 3 parts, one of which is called Asia. Okay. The second, Europe. The third, Africa. Apart from these 3 parts of the world, there exists a 4th part beyond the ocean, which is unknown to us. That was from Isidore of Seville, 600 AD. So the people over here, or over there in the 3 parts where you guys come from, you guys were not over here. So you did not know anything that was going on over here. You knew it existed, but you knew you couldn't get to it. And that's why at the cover of our book here, it's like 3 parts right there. Europe, Asia, Africa. That's all that they knew. And their Jerusalem was Constantinople. That's why even on the cover of the book is telling you about the 3 parts. They didn't know about the Americas. So they wasn't like they were just, killing it over here and doing great over here. And they were bringing all this great knowledge, understanding over to our lands over here in the Americas. It was vice versa. So because we can show you all the information, over there or over here in the Americas that you guys did not have over there. Like I just said, just math, astronomy, the calendar, King James, the Bible. And that's why you had to reject any information that was pre-Columbian, so that you can make it seem as if you guys were the ones that had all this information. Okay, so right here, Jeremiah 16:19. This is for you Gentiles. Explain this. If this is not, if you guys had all this great information, explain this scripture right here, Jeremiah 16:19. O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge, in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. So it's telling you right here, days of affliction. Yes, and when your days of affliction, Gentiles, begin, you're going to realize that your fathers have inherited lies. Okay, we've been through our affliction, and during our time we were going through affliction, you guys weren't saying that you inherited lies. You guys are saying that you guys created everything. That you guys, have been the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, and you guys have created everything. You guys have boasted, yourselves on the world and made it seem as if you guys built everything. So that's not what that's talking about. That it's talking about now. You guys are in your day. You're starting your days of affliction now, and now it's becoming very apparent that you guys lie about absolutely everything. And like, what have you guys told the truth about? And just like this prideful woman here talking down, and like that's just history. That's just how it is. Yes, that's his story. That's your story that you made up. That has you have no basis for many of the things that you say. You just run your mouth, talk, and it says not just her. I said that's just the vast majority of people. Let's see right here. When you look at Revelation 6 and 8, what was it that you guys were going to be brought over here for? Were you brought over here to the 4th part to enlighten our people, to teach our people? Because we didn't have any laws. Did they send the Democrats over and left the Republicans over there in the in Europe? They only sent the Democrats over. Come on, man. So what does it say right here, Revelation 6 and 8? And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So it didn't say you were brought over here to teach us anything. It didn't say that you guys were elevated, way above us intellectually, and that you would be teaching us, because we didn't have any laws and we were savages over here. No, you were brought over here for one thing: to kill and destroy. And that's what you guys are good at: kill and destroy. But you guys have decided to hide your real intentions and what you were sent over here for, and want to make it seem as if you guys were so much smarter than us and that we didn't know anything. But see, right here is that you guys know exactly what you came over here for. Okay? Let's try that one more time in 6 and 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. So you guys finally got to come over here. But what did you guys come over here for? To kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So like I said, you were not brought over here to enlighten us, to teach us, because you can't teach us anything, because you guys didn't have any of that information before. And that's why I read that information, that part right there in the medieval empires of the Israelites, because it lets you know that you didn't have anything over there and that you guys were illiterate. So you weren't bringing all this information over here. And you guys weren't living like under laws. You guys make it seem like you guys are just so noble, but you weren't. So I just wanted to kind of give some clarification, because like I said, this is something that most Gentiles believe and many Hebrew Israelites believe, because that's what they've been taught. But we're now here to give more knowledge, understanding, and clarification as to how things were before the Gentiles got here, and how the Most High is about to restore us back, to our rightful place in our lands, as He promised. All praise is to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is the Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. Shalom.